ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. A very warm welcome to all of you on day 23 of Srila Prabhupada Lila. Please distribute books. So Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly mentions the way of spiritual perfection, especially in this age, Kali Yuga. Bhakti Yoga is the way of attaining spiritual perfection in any age, but different processes were recommended to follow Bhakti Yoga. In Sat Yuga, a lot of austerities were part of it, like Dhruv Maharaj. He practiced Ashtanga Yoga also, but that Ashtanga Yoga was as per the direction of Narad Muni. So even though he was a small boy, but no compromise. In that age, you have to do such strict austerities, but not for any mystical powers, for the satisfaction of Lord Hari. Similarly, yajnas were done in Treta Yuga, in Lord Ramchandra's time, deity worship in Dwapar Yuga. We see huge temples in India, they are all coming from Dwapar Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, the clear process is chanting of the holy names of Lord. How Krishna is worshipped in Kali Yuga? So it is mentioned. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yajna Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. So Krishna will come in a special incarnation, and how shall one identify? In that incarnation, he will always be chanting the names of Krishna, Krishna Varnam. Krishna Varnam also means his name would be Krishna. So this description fits nicely with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His name is Krishna Chaitanya. So his name is Krishna and he is always chanting Krishna's name. But complexion will be Tusha Akrishnam. Krishna means dark. Akrishna means opposite of dark, fair complexioned or golden complexion. And that was the complexion of Lord Chaitanya. Sango Pangastra Parshadam. He will come with his associates and they will be chanting the names of Krishna. So they should be worshipped by a special process. What is this special process? Person can worship Krishna by following rigorous process of Ashtanga Yoga also, or by deity worship, or by offering oblations of grains and clarified butter in the fire of sacrifice. But a special kind of worship, a special kind of sacrifice is recommended to worship Krishna in Kali Yuga for this special incarnation. And what is that? Yajna Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. The most intelligent people, less intelligent people cannot follow Krishna consciousness. So those who are wise, they will be able to understand the Vedas and be able to follow. Those who are not very intelligent, still if they engage in service of Krishna, perfect intelligence will be given from the heart, from the Lord. So it does not matter if a person is intelligent, he may understand the instructions, read the Vedas and come to this conclusion. If he or she is not intelligent, still we engage ourselves constantly in the service of Krishna, surrender completely, then Krishna dictates from the heart, gives perfect intelligence. So those people who are very intelligent, they will be able to follow this process of doing Sankirtan Yajna for the satisfaction of Lord Chaitanya. In this way, a person can make the life successful. So although this process is known to us, but today's session and 2 sessions at least after this are very, very important, because we will understand the real Sankirtan. And this is the conclusion also of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the final message, Bhagavatam is anyway, Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Sri Bhagavatam Ishyate. It is the Vedanta Sar. Vedanta is anyway the Sar of all the Vedas. And the conclusion of that is Srimad Bhagavatam. And conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam should be the most important essence. And what is that? That is The final verse spoken by Shukdev Goswami, I've spoken so many things. Now please take the final thing. What is that? Nam Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanastam Namami Harim Param. Nam Sankirtan, the glorification of name of Krishna, this process is described finally in the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam. With this, Bhagavatam ends. So thus we understand there is no doubt Sankirtan is the only way. But what is the right way of Sankirtan? By Sankirtan, Sarva Papa Pranashanam. We are suffering only because of sinful actions of the past. This is very important to understand. Somebody is rich, somebody is poor, somebody is wise, somebody is dumb, somebody is very strong, other person is diseased, invalid. All these things are happening because of sins of the past. Everybody has committed some sins, and the reactions we have to bear in the form of sufferings. So if you want to become happy, the only solution is to get rid of the sinful reactions. And how that happens? That happens by Nama Sankirtanam Yasya. This is the first result. As soon as a person engages in Nam Sankirtana, then all the sinful reactions, they go away. So devotees ask Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, this process we are following, we are so fortunate. We are worshipping Lord Chaitanya by chanting the holy names. So if we are chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra and then we leave our bodies, so will we go back to Godhead? Because at the time of death, you have to remember Krishna. So Prabhupada told, yes, if you are thinking of Krishna. If you are not, then you may not. So devotees told, oh, it is difficult. Because we are doing kirtan. We may be attending programs in temple, but our mind is somewhere else. We are daily chanting 16 rounds or whatever we do, but the mind goes somewhere else. So Prabhupada told, if the mind is somewhere else, you may not go back to Godhead, even if you are chanting the names of Krishna. So then devotees, oh, there is no guarantee. We thought this process gives us guarantee of going back to Godhead. Then Prabhupada told, but if you distribute my books every day of your life till your last day, then Lord Chaitanya will come and personally take you back to Godhead. So Prabhupada explained, this is called real Sankirtan. That is book distribution, spreading this message. Because if we speak something, if we play Mridanga or sing Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that may have limited impact. People come in touch through various ways and means, but life doesn't take a U-turn by any of these methods. Very rarely it will happen. It happens with the liberated souls. Immediately the effect is perceived. But very rarely it happens that a person has come across, he has taken some prasadam and he surrendered to Krishna completely. He heard some Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he surrendered to Krishna immediately. But he heard somewhere, but when they read the books, there is a U-turn in the life immediately. Whole consciousness changes. So thus Prabhupada told, what your 3-minute talk would do? Prabhupada told to a sannyasi. But if that person receives a book, then his life may change for good. So thus Sankirtan is the way, and the most powerful, most important Sankirtan is distribution of these books. It is a message, the books which came from all the Goswamis, from Lord Krishna. He spoke to Arjuna, got compiled in the form of a book, it came to us. So many lives are getting transformed. This is called Shabda Brahma. Anavritti Shabdat, by Shabda a person gets liberated. So this Vedic knowledge which is coming in the form of books, this is the most important spiritual contribution that anybody can receive or we can further transfer. So Sankirtan means Shukdev Goswami. So Sankirtan, we think just by singing the names of God. Yeah, singing is definitely Sankirtan. But Shukdev Goswami, when it is described how people achieve perfection by following these 9 processes of bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Vayasaki Abhavat Kirtane. So Shukdev Goswami, he made his life successful by Kirtan. But Shukdev Goswami did not sing. Shukdev Goswami simply spoke. So speaking about Krishna is being described as Kirtan. So either you describe Krishna consciousness like Shukdev Goswami described in Srimad Bhagavatam, or you sing the names of Krishna. These are all kirtan. But the most powerful form of kirtan, Brihad Mridanga, which can be heard on the other part of the globe, that is book distribution. This is recorded Sankirtan, Prabhupada told. Shukdev Goswami, what he spoke, now it has been recorded. So same his message, his voice, it can go everywhere, wherever we distribute the books. So thus, this is the most powerful Sankirtan. So simply by distributing books, Prabhupada told, this is guarantee that you will go back to Godhead. As we discussed few sessions back, not in SP series, but in Gita live session on Sundays that we take. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj is describing how simply by the process of hearing one reaches the stage of Samadhi. Samadhi means constant meditation on the lotus feet of Krishna. So for this, devotees were doing all these processes. Ashtanga Yoga, Dhruv Maharaj meditated, he was not eating anything. He stopped drinking and barely eating some dry grass and leaves, what he was doing, but even that he left even breathing also. And then his mind got fixed upon the lotus feet of Krishna within the heart. Similarly, by deity worship, by yajna, sacrificing all one's wealth, giving in charity, and all such processes were followed. But Srila Prabhupada mentions how Samadhi can be attained now. In Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is mentioned, if a person simply focuses on distribution of books, then that is called Samadhi, when a person is always absorbed in the thoughts of book distribution. And such activities, Prabhupada mentions all the activities in our society, they are centered around distribution of books. And such activities always remind one of the lotus feet of Krishna. So Prabhupada mentions this is called Samadhi. By this we can attain Samadhi. Lotus feet one will be able to see in the heart simply when he focuses on distribution of the literatures. So thus this is the most important activity. And by doing this, there is guarantee of going back to Godhead. A person is able to see Lord Krishna manifests his lotus feet within the heart. And Sarva Papa Pranashanam, all the sinful activities are destroyed. So this very important phase of book distribution, so we saw from 1970 to 1975, how Srila Prabhupada built various temples, which are a very important insignia of the movement. But another very important activity, rather the most important activity, which gave so much of funds and resources and devotees who could construct such temples and who came to live in such temples, is book distribution. So how this very important Sankirtan process developed in Krishna consciousness, how Srila Prabhupada fulfilled the desire of his Guru Maharaj, that we will try to understand in this chapter. So let us go a little back. We have done pastimes till 1975, where Vrindavan temple is inaugurated. It started from 1970-71, when Prabhupada started acquiring land for Bombay. So during 1970, July 5, San Francisco, Srila Prabhupada was attending the Rath Yatra. The day was cold and windy, and about 10,000 people had joined Lord Jagannath's procession through Golden Gate Park. So 10,000 people, can you imagine? That's huge. These many people had joined Rath Yatra procession. Srila Prabhupada had danced in the street with thousands of participants during the parade, addressed a large crowd in an auditorium by the beach, and looked on as his disciples had distributed a free vegetarian prasadam feast to thousands. Prabhupada was looking so delighted and pleased by all such things. Rath Yatra, Sankirtan, prasadam distribution. But when a devotee arrived with half dozen advanced copies of volume 1 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Krishna book was published in 3 volumes. So the first volume was brought by Brahmanand Prabhu just at the time of Rath Yatra. Srila Prabhupada appeared specially pleased. Surrounded by devotees and curious festival goers, Srila Prabhupada held one of the books, admiring the front cover. With its full color picture of Radha and Krishna, the volume was big, almost 7.5 by 10.5 inches, and its dust jacket shone silver with large bright red letters, Krishna. It was a transcendental wonder in Srila Prabhupada's reverent hands. Onlookers could barely restrain themselves from pressing in against Srila Prabhupada to peer over his shoulders, and they did not restrain their exclamations when Prabhupada smiled and opened the volume. He examined the illustrations, the print, the paper, and the binding. Very nice, he said. He fixed his attention on a page, reading. Then he looked up and announced that this greatly valuable book Krishna had just arrived and that everyone should read it. So those who wish to have these copies, they can come forward and buy it. And all the people, they wanted to rush forward with $10 bills in their hands, and few fortunate people were able to have it. And Prabhupada promptly sold every book, not even keeping one for himself. For the devotee, Srila Prabhupada's selling of Krishna book was the most spectacular event of the Rath Yatra festival. They poured over the purchase of books in groups, discussing Krishna's pastimes and the effect they would have on the people of America. Brahmanan told how in 1967, Prabhupada had given away his advanced copy. So one disciple was there, Satyavrata Prabhu. He was having some difficulties with mixing with other devotees in the temple, so he left for not very significant reasons. But then he came to meet Prabhupada, and the first edition, the only copy, has arrived. And Prabhupada is reading this book, and this disciple comes. And Prabhupada handed that over to him. So obviously, first copy, Prabhupada has put a lot of hard work. This is the first publication of the movement, but Prabhupada gave his only copy to him. So then the disciples understood the spirit of distributing books of Srila Prabhupada. So personal copy is very, very dear, first copy, but Prabhupada gave it to that disciple, and he was not so-called very, very significant in that sense, or very, of course, in eyes of spiritual master, every disciple is significant, but he was not able to take much interest in the movement, and he never came back again after that day. But still, to such a disciple who is not able to follow nicely, Prabhupada gave his only copy. So disciples understood that distribution of books is very dear to Srila Prabhupada. Although Srila Prabhupada wanted his disciples to be as eager to distribute Krishna conscious literature as he was, none of them knew how to do it. Prabhupada was always telling, but nobody could figure out. They tried various ways and means. They were putting in some bookstalls, and they were trying to showcase on various avenues, but it was difficult. Small magazines, that is fine. But such big books, even from famous bookstores, it was not going. So devotees were not able to understand how to go about it. Some of them tried to place an ad in newspaper also. That also did not work. How to sell these big hardbound books remained a mystery until something significant happened, an accidental discovery. One day in 1971, while driving back to the temple after chanting in downtown San Francisco, two brahmacharis stopped at a local service station for gas. When the attendant came to the window for money, one of the devotees showed him a Krishna book. The attendant seemed interested, and the two devotees began preaching the glories of Krishna consciousness. So the attendant gas filler, the devotees, instead of they gave him Krishna book itself instead of money, and they started preaching to him. When they suggested he take the book as payment for the gas, he agreed. Astonished at what had happened and inspired by their success. Oh, big books also can be given. People are taking interest. Astonished by what had happened and inspired by their success, the two brahmacharis went next day with several Krishna books and stood in front of a grocery store. And again it happened. This time they sold two books. Keshav, the San Francisco temple president, phoned his GBC supervisor. So temple presidents means the leader of the temples. They are the authorities, final decision makers. And above them are the GBC representative. Among the top body of the movement, which is called Governing Body Commission or Council, one of them, they monitor one or more than one temples. So the temple president immediately called the governing body representative. And he happened to be his brother also, Karandhara, in Los Angeles, to tell him what had happened. It's like a miracle, Keshav exclaimed. Karandhara encouraged him to experiment further. And soon the San Francisco temple half a dozen men going from door to door showing the books to the people in their homes. When Buddhimanta began selling as many as 5 books in a day, the devotees in other temples, especially in Los Angeles, San Diego, and Denver, wanted to follow his example. And whoever tried it and sold a book became caught up in a euphoric excitement. So one may wonder that what is special in this? These devotees are also uh, salesmen, sales executive, or saleswomen. But no, this euphoria is very different from what a salesperson does. This is just like dancing of Krishna with the gopis. So this event is described by devotees who are Paramahansas like Shukadev Goswami, who have no interest in material affairs at all. They left their home without any clothes like a madman, he has come out. But then they describe the affairs of Krishna with the gopis, how they are dancing. So thus these are not mundane affairs. Ordinary dance, if a person hears, then lust increases in the heart. And this dance, affairs of Krishna with the gopis, lust finishes from the heart. Of course, these pastimes should also be approached in a sequential manner under the guidance of a spiritual master. Otherwise, a person may harm his spiritual life by directly entering these confidential. But this is the reality of these pastimes. Spiritual affair is totally different from attachment to any person in this material world, brings repeated birth and death. We go and take birth next to that person, in human or his dog or as insect, but in the association of our beloved, we would go and we would keep on taking such repeated births and keep on suffering. But attachment, same attachment, when it is dovetailed for devotees, that opens the door to liberation. So the process is same. Personal attachment, when it is with devotees, it opens the door to liberation. When it is with materialist, it opens the door to hell, repeated birth and death. So the euphoria, the excitement which the devotees feel after selling books, it could be very different from a salesman who is selling an Oxford dictionary set, thesaurus like that. This spiritual ecstasy. The difference is that devotees' book distribution, being devotional service to Krishna, produces an ecstasy that is transcendental, an ecstasy far beyond even the greatest material happiness. Ordinary business and the business of selling Krishna conscious literature are as different as material life is from spiritual life. And anyone observing spiritual life from the material point of view will not understand it. Just like Arjuna shooting arrows, is same like any other person shooting arrows, but it was a spiritual activity, giving Arjuna spiritual bliss. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had compared such empirical attempts to understand the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness with attempts to taste honey by licking the outside of the bottle. So empirically, we want to understand what is this pleasure, what is this ecstasy. Can we ever imagine the pleasure of eating gulab jamun without actually eating it? No. Nobody can describe. You can just tell it is sweet, but then sugar is also sweet, and chocolate is also sweet, and so many things are sweet. But what is that sweetness of that special dish? That we will not know. Only we have to eat it. Oh, then we understand this is son papdi, this is gulab jamun, this is sandesh, this is chocolate. All these sweetnesses are unique. This pleasure is unique. Similarly, this spiritual pleasure cannot be understood by trying to go through literatures, trying to empirically understand it. But once a person works very hard for Krishna, does significant sacrifice, complete surrender, then this pleasure is awakened within the heart. So, selling of books, distribution of such books and literatures, it produces spiritual ecstasy which a person realizes only when one does it in proper attitude. The young men and women beginning to distribute books in America knew that Srila Prabhupada, by giving them Krishna consciousness, had saved them from hellish life, and they wanted to help him give Krishna consciousness to others. And such preaching by distributing his books was ecstasy, spiritual ecstasy. By mid-1971, the temples were selling hundreds of Krishna books a week. Karandhara, Prabhupada's book fund manager, began sending Sankirtan newsletters to North American temples and to Srila Prabhupada by listing the monthly results of each temple's book distribution. The newsletters incited competition. Karandhara's December 1971 newsletter summed up the mood of the year and urged the devotees to increase. So very important letter it was. Recently, in an all-out program to sell books, the San Francisco temple has been averaging 20 Krishna books. That was huge that time. Now, of course, it is a small figure. Has been averaging 20 Krishna books per day distribution. Entire temple put together, they were able to give out 20 books. What is their technique? Kesha Prabhu says, simply we make it a priority activity. All you have to do is want to do it and then try as hard as you can. Everywhere we go, we carry back to Godheads, magazines, and Krishna books, he says. On streets, Sankirtan party, door to the laundromat, to the store, everywhere. Even to laundromat, if they are going, they would carry books. We have been taxing our brains in so many fancy and complicated ways to try to increase sales. But as it has been experienced, nothing is more successful than simply taking the books personally in hand and going door to door with this causeless mercy. Just consider how many hours a day do we spend specifically trying to distribute Srila Prabhupada's literature, which is the dearmost thing to him. The crowning touch to end the year Sankirtan, however, came not from the newsletter, but from Prabhupada himself, who wrote to Keshav, the king of Krishna book distribution. I have been receiving so many reports, this Prabhupada writing, about how my disciples from the San Francisco temple cannot be surpassed by anyone in distributing my books. Sometimes they are selling as many as 70 Krishna books daily. So if this is true, so from 20 they have reached 70 books every day now. If this is true, then certainly when I return to the US, I must come and stay in your temple. By distributing my books profusely, you are giving me great encouragement to translate. And you are all helping me to fulfill the order which Guru Maharaj gave me. So I am so much grateful to you, and I am sure Krishna will bless you 1,000,000 times over for doing this work. I hope that you and all my beloved disciples in San Francisco temple are in strong health and jolly mood. So copies of this letter were sent to everybody in all the temples, although it was written to specific one but had universal application. So many times Prabhupada had expressed in his writings that Krishna is very pleased with you, I am very pleased with you, you will get blessings. But nowhere Prabhupada had mentioned anything close to writing, Krishna will bless you 1,000,000 times over. This 1,000,000 times over was never mentioned. Or even 1,000 times. So then devotees realize, oh, this is something very important. Because Prabhupada told, you are all helping me to fulfill the order which Guru Maharaj gave me. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha Guru Nandana. A sincere disciple has got no other duty but the specific instruction of his spiritual master is the life and soul of disciple. If life is out, then a person is dead. Similarly, if this instruction is taken away from the sincere disciple, his life is dead. So he is living only on the basis of this instruction. And Srila Prabhupada, how much attachment he would be having to the instruction of his Guru Maharaj. He was living only to fulfill that instruction. And if somebody helps him, how much Prabhupada would be pleased with that endeavor. And thus Prabhupada writes, so if this is true, then certainly when I return to the US, I must come and stay in your temple. So Prabhupada became very pleased and he told, I will give you all my association. So now also if we try to please Prabhupada by distributing his books, then Prabhupada will give us his personal association. So Srila Prabhupada, it is not that his pastimes are over. There are two parts of the pastimes. One is Prakat Lila, another is Aprakat Lila. So one is pastimes which happen in a manifest form, just like Prabhupada did till 1977. And now also Prabhupada is doing, fulfilling, carrying on the mission of his Guru Maharaj, spiritual master. He will keep on doing so for at least next 10,000 years. Prabhupada told, I will live in my books and you will utilize. So Prabhupada is living in his books. So when Acharya and his books, there is no difference. When we give some book to somebody, we are giving Prabhupada to them. And by such activity, Prabhupada would be so pleased and he would be giving us his association. Although a letter from Prabhupada usually instructed a specific devotee, the instruction often had a common application, universal application. And Srila Prabhupada's letters made clear his disciples' top priority book distribution. Prabhupada wrote, I am very pleased to hear that you are increasing in your book distribution and magazine distribution. This is a good sign that your preaching work is also strong. The more you increase your strength in preaching, the more you will go on selling books. I want specially that my books be distributed widely. Prabhupada's ambition was to replace mundane literature with transcendental. At least in every home, there should be one piece of Krishna conscious literature, he reasoned. Because if a person reads only one page, his life could be turned toward perfection. Prabhupada spoke, if 1% of the readers become devotees, he wrote, that will change the world. So usually the percentage of typical marketing field is, if they mail so many people, then 5% will respond. But Prabhupada is expecting, let there not be 5%, even 1%. Let the books be placed everywhere, in every house, and even 1% of people, they understand, they become devotees, then that will change the world completely. We just need to make 1% of the people devotees. That will change the world. So Prabhupada wanted, this is Prabhupada's desire, that every household should have at least one Krishna conscious literature. Lord Krishna also confirms this in Bhagavad Gita, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So the proportion is always less. We cannot expect, we are giving books to everybody, they may read, but out of 100, one person reads, that will change his life, and that is sufficient. To make the world Krishna conscious, therefore, would require that millions of pieces of transcendental literature be distributed. Every home has to have one literature. Srila Prabhupada wanted his disciples to understand why they should distribute his books, and he instructed them through his letters. Who God is can be summed up in only 5 words. Krishna is the supreme controller. If you become convinced of this and preach it enthusiastically, so what we have to do is nothing. Janma sarthakai kar paropkar. We have to make our life successful by developing this conviction that Krishna is supreme controller, and preach it enthusiastically. Success is assured, and you will be doing the greatest service for all living entities. He wrote to Jayadvaita, these books and magazines are our most important propaganda weapons to defeat the ignorance of Maya's army. And the more we produce such literature and sell them profusely all over the world, the more we shall deliver the world from the suicide course. To Jagdish he wrote, I am encouraged to see your report of books sold, because it proves that you consider it your responsibility to see that more and more people are reading our literature. Actually, this is the solid basis for our preaching work. No other movement has got such profuse authority for preaching. And if someone reads our Krishna conscious philosophy, he becomes convinced. Prabhupada continued to insist that all major Krishna conscious programs, they should go on. Deity worship is important. By doing deity worship, we maintain purity. It gives very quick purity. But with that purity, we have to go for Sankirtan, for distributing books and literatures. So book distribution should go on, other activities should go on. But all these activities should contribute towards book distribution. And whenever possible, all these programs should accompany book distribution. To a sannyasi whose main program was public lecturing, Prabhupada wrote, distribute books as many as possible. If anyone hears some philosophy from us, that will help him. Definitely. But if he purchases one book, that may turn his life. So one is simply offering help and one is turning one's life. What is more important? So if you go and lecture to somebody, just like devotees ask many times, Prabhu, how can I preach? I myself do not have sufficient knowledge. So there is no need. So what we can do is, simply we have to distribute these books and literatures. And Prabhupada will preach, the books will preach. Or if we can call somebody to our place and we can open Prabhupada books and we can just read these books and then give them small books or big books as per capacity to read. That's it. This is called preaching. Hear Prabhupada's lectures and discuss with others, and read Prabhupada books, discuss with others, and hand over the books to them. So distributing of books is the real preaching, Prabhupada told. So simple preaching, it may help. But this preaching, what we are doing, it must contribute to that person eventually taking a book. because that will change his life. And in a letter to Bhagwan Das in France, he stressed the same thing. What will your 3 minutes preaching do? But if they buy one book, it may turn their life. Another breakthrough for book distribution came at the end of 1972. The previous year's devotees had taken advantage of the Christmas season by selling Krishna book. In Christmas, people are on a buying spree. Things are cheap and everywhere there is sale, people purchase a lot. And the shops are open till midnight and there is huge rush. So this surprise discovery happened. Rameshwar recollects, it was on December 22, 1972 that we accidentally discovered the Christmas marathon in Los Angeles. So we all have book marathon in our movement. So most of you who are in touch for some time must be knowing. In the month of December, Thanksgiving time, we distribute books across the world and there is competition among the temples. And all the devotees, their main priority, unless it's a small center or some urgent work is there, is book distribution. So how this book marathon started, what was the basis? So this was the discovery of December 22nd, 1972. Of course, we noticed a great increase in the number of people going into the stores, and the stores were staying open sometimes until midnight. I was standing. Eventually he became the BBT secretary. I was standing in front of a Burbank Zoddies, one shop. We were having an intense competition with prizes in Los Angeles, and it was building up to a feverish pitch. So after distributing madly all day long, I had collected about $350 and had distributed 650 magazines. It was about 10 o'clock at night, so one devotee alone selling 650 magazines. So it's a huge thing. And collected $350. It was about 10 o'clock at night. I was convinced this was the new world's record in ISKCON and that nobody was possibly going to beat me this day. Even though the store was open until 12, business had started slowing off. And I was thinking, maybe I should go back. Undoubtedly, everyone is back already because everyone was supposed to do evening program. Prabhupada stressed this thing. Morning program, evening time you do service of Krishna, daytime you do service of Krishna, evening again you come back. So this all of us should follow in regular circumstances. Morning program, then attend to your study, office or business. And evening time, again we should do kirtan and book distribution, hearing lecture, book reading and hearing of lectures. So book distributor should come back and then evening program must be attended. But then it became 10 o'clock because it was special day. The markets were crowded, people were taking books and giving donations. So he stayed for a longer time on that day, 10 o'clock it became. And the devotee thought I would be the last person and this is a world record. By 11 o'clock, the store was completely dead. I got in the car and started driving back. On the way back, I passed another Zoddies called Hollywood Zoddies on Sunset and Western. I was torn whether to stop or not because that store was crowded and was going to be open until midnight. But I decided to return to the temple because I thought all other devotees were probably already back and were just waiting up to see how many books I had distributed. So I just kept on driving. I finally arrived at the temple at about 10 minutes to 12. It's almost midnight. And I burst into the Sankirtan room. But the only person there was the secretary, Madhukantha. I said, oh no, everyone went to bed. He said, no, nobody's back yet. I was the first one back. That was the discovery of the first Christmas marathon. It was completely unplanned. No one had ever instructed anyone to stay out that late because the instructions were you should come early. So nobody got instruction you stay late, but Krishna inspired everybody to stay late that day. We just did it spontaneously. Finally, at about 1:30 in the morning, all the devotees had returned. And we were all sitting around looking at the Sankirtan map. We couldn't sleep. We were so excited to go out. We were thinking, where can we find plenty of conditioned souls to distribute books to? Our noise and raucous laughter was like a drunken party, and it woke up Karandhara, who was sleeping in his office in the next room. So how hard the devotees were working. They would work in the office, sleep in the office, the only one main person. Rest all would be out and out on the streets. It's very, very exhaustive to do this book distribution. But from morning 9:30 till evening, can you imagine how many hours? 12 plus 4, 16 hours. 16 hours continuously a person is on road with the books, carrying huge bag. It's very heavy. And then you have to go to people, speak to people. Entire day you have to keep on speaking. 16 hours on one day, and like this every day they would do. So that is why we see that how they were experiencing all these spiritual ecstasies, because they were working so hard for Krishna. Our noise and raucous laughter was like a drunken party, and it woke up Karandhara, who was sleeping in his office, the next room. He came stumbling in, wiping the sleep from his eyes. But when he saw us and saw what was going on, he burst out laughing and sent us all to bed, saying, "Get ready for tomorrow." So in this way, we performed the 3-day marathon, December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. No one had ever distributed as many books before in the history of our movement. A big day had been considered to be somewhere between 25 and 40 books. But we were distributing between 5,000 and 6,000 pieces of literature a day for 3-day period. So instead of 25 to 40, they are distributing 5 to 6,000. One temple had distributed almost 18,000 pieces of literature in just 3 days. When Prabhupada received news of the book distribution in Los Angeles and elsewhere in the United States, he was very pleased and amazed. Although involved with many affairs from throughout the world, he put them aside and relished the overwhelming victory of book distribution in America. Immediately, he called in his personal secretary and dictated letters. "My dear Rameshwar," Prabhupada wrote, "I beg to acknowledge the receipt of your letter dated December 27, 1972, and with great happiness I have read your figures of amount of books sold during the 3-day period December 22nd to 24, 1972. It is scarcely believable that more than 17,000 books could have been sold by one temple in 3 days. That indicates to me that people are at last becoming a little serious about this Krishna consciousness movement in your country. Otherwise, why they should buy our books? But they can see that our boys and girls devotees are so much sincere and serious to distribute the message of Krishna consciousness, they are at once struck by seeing them, and therefore they appreciate and purchase." So thus when devotees were trying various ways and means, trying to put the books in stalls, in fests, it was not working. So Prabhupada told, "My books are sold by the enthusiasm of my devotees." So Prabhupada told why they are taking interest, why they are purchasing books. Because when they see the sincerity of the devotees, so they get inspired to take these books. When they see that our boys and girls are so much sincere and serious to distribute the message of Krishna consciousness, they are at once struck by seeing them, and therefore they appreciate and purchase. This is unique in the world. So I am so much pleased upon all of the boys and girls in Los Angeles and all over the world who are understanding and appreciating this unique quality of our transcendental literature, and voluntarily they are going out to distribute despite all circumstances of difficulty. By this effort alone, they are assured to go back home, back to Godhead. The same day, Prabhupada dictated a letter to Karandhara. Letter states, "I could never have thought it was possible to distribute so many of our literatures. Therefore, I can understand it is simply Krishna's blessings. It is simply Krishna's blessing us for your sincerely working on his behalf. Actually, that is the secret of my success. Not that personally I have done anything wonderful, but that because those who are helping me are sincere, they have done the work. That is the reason for our success all over the world where others have failed. A little sincerity is a very difficult thing in this age of hypocrisy and bluff. But I am so fortunate that Krishna has sent me all of you nice boys and girls who are sincerely working. Please convey to all of them my deepest appreciation." Srila Prabhupada's letters acknowledging the Christmas marathon and assuring the devotees that they would go back to Godhead sent the book distribution movement flying into the new year with great momentum. Devotees continue to find new ways and places to distribute books. New records were constantly topping the old, and the devotees were making still high projections for the future. Praghosh recollects. I was coming regularly to the Detroit temple for classes in the evening. And I was doing some odd work to help the devotees. So this is very nice what he tells. So he was very new, he was doing some work to help the devotees. Every night I would be painting and I would watch the devotees coming back from Sankirtan. They seemed very ecstatic and enlivened. And I was always little curious about what they did out there that made them come back like this. I would be up on my ladder painting and listening to them talk as they sat on the floor drinking hot milk. They would talk about how they had knocked on one man's door and this had happened and then that had happened. It was very attractive to me. After I moved into the temple and had been a devotee about a week, someone asked me if I would like to go out and try distributing books. So I went out wearing a dhoti and tilak and using a straightforward presentation, walking up to people, giving them a card and a book, telling them about the contents of the book, showing them Prabhupada's picture and asking for a donation. So very simple. Give a book, give card of the temple address, Hare Krishna mantra program written on it, and then show Prabhupada picture, this is our spiritual master, and ask for a donation. The exhilaration I got from that was just incredible. It became extremely blissful to go out and do this. None of us could actually put a finger on why it was so ecstatic. We used to lie awake at night. All the brahmacharis stayed in one big room and we would lie there on the floor in our sleeping bags, whispering to each other, what did you say to the people out there? There would be all these different conversations going on in the room at night. With the lights out and everyone talking, try to relate how we were presenting Prabhupada's books. Tripurari recollects, my association with Srila Prabhupada was always more or less in separation and in the field. While many of the older devotees were trained personally by Prabhupada, so Tripurari Prabhupada would call him the incarnation of book distribution. He was able to distribute on his own as many as 200 Bhagavatams in one day. So how he got association of Srila Prabhupada, he is explaining. While many of the older devotees were trained personally by Prabhupada, I never got that training. I was trained by Srila Prabhupada more from within my own heart. I think that is the case with all of our book distributors. They have a very intimate sense of feeling for Prabhupada, but they never had much personal contact. Their intimacy and real sense of knowing Prabhupada very closely was because of that service which Prabhupada said was his life and soul. Seeing that, the books went out. So understanding who is Krishna is difficult, and understanding who is a pure devotee of Krishna is equally or even more difficult. Many times we mistake a pure devotee as an ordinary person. So how this revelation happens, that somebody is a pure devotee or somebody, he is not any ordinary man, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only when Krishna is very, very pleased by devotional service. So there is very nice pastime regarding this. When Lord Krishna entered a cave to get back a jewel which is called Simantak Mani. So there is a very nice story mentioned in Krishna book. Maybe you can read that. So there was a fight with Jambavan, who is his intimate devotee. But Jambavan could not recognize. He was in angry mood when he came to see Lord Krishna. He could not recognize, he is my lovable Lord. So there was a fight, and Jambavan was fighting, Krishna was fighting. And they fought for almost around 28 days. And why we fight? Why so many people are very fond of fighting? Because Krishna has got this tendency. So fighting with Krishna also gives Krishna pleasure, just like Bhishma. His service was to shoot arrows on Krishna, fight with Krishna. Similarly, Jambavan also rendered service, valuable service, by fighting with Krishna. But then after 28 days of fight, Jambavan, his body became completely broken. All his bones were in bad shape. His entire body was pained because of this fight. And after that, when he has been beaten badly by Krishna, his entire body is paining. Krishna became very pleased by his service. And then Krishna is there in the heart. He inspired Jambavan, and thus he could understand, oh, this is my Supreme Lord only with whom I am fighting. And then he understood. So thus, spiritual realization happens when a person works very, very hard, uses all one's energy for Krishna, and when Krishna is pleased, this revelation happens. So thus the disciples are telling that this was the case with all book distributors. We understood Krishna, we understood Srila Prabhupada and everything by this book distribution, by this seva which we were doing, and how they were so enlivened. Here in material world, if the result is taken out, if a person is working hard, you tell you work, but I will not give you money for it, they would immediately stop doing their work. No promotion, appraisal, not satisfactory. They would leave the company. So nobody, a researcher, the result does not come, they become disturbed. So we all want some result out of our work. But in spiritual life, simply the activity is full of bliss. Devotees are not getting any money for distributing books. They don't have any commission on it. And it is a rigorous hard work, but devotees are feeling so enlivened. So this new person was seeing what these devotees are doing every day when they come back, why they are so enthusiastic. And when he participated, he realized. So these are the activities which can help us, bring us to platform of spiritual pleasure. So thus, this is very, very dear activity, and we can all help Srila Prabhupada by placing entire set of Prabhupada in our house and distributing it to our friends, relatives, colleagues, or strangers whenever, wherever possible. So our store is, we are building up, working on it, and it will be up in a couple of days. So as soon as it is up, I request all of you can order one Srimad Bhagavatam or Chandana Charitamrita for your own house, and please distribute it to other people also. So thank you so much for hearing. We will be hearing more such wonderful pastimes about book distribution. So please do not miss the coming sessions. Now today, please do not go. We have something very special for you. So let us see a small creation. The empowered Acharya. So we at HKM Mumbai are trying to offer a tribute to Srila Prabhupada and a nice gift to all of Srila Prabhupada's devotees by preparing a short movie. So the trailer of the movie is going to be released on 25th of this month. So this is the motion poster, what you just saw. So we'll be sharing the link in the description of this video, or is it shared already? Acha, yeah, right. So it will be there. You can just see in the description, and you can please share it so that many people this video can reach. It just depends upon sharing. So please start sharing this poster, and the trailer will be out on 25th so that people are very eager and they watch the trailer. And eventually, so much effort we are putting. Many devotees have worked hard for entire month, practically spending entire day on making this thing. So if you all kindly help, it can reach to many people. So let us remain eager for the trailer and eventually for the movie, which will be released on Vyas Puja Day. So for today, as we do every day, I think many of us would have had many realizations. So please mention your realizations in the comments, and try to like the video and share also, so that people can understand what is real Sankirtan, the assurance not just of going back to home, back to Godhead, but becoming an intimate associate of Lord Shri Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. We'll meet tomorrow again. Thank you for hearing. Hare Krishna.